Hi, welcome back to another success story with Systeme.io. Today we're going to be joined by Jennie Mustafa-Julock, the extroverted half of the Jennie and Meredyth dynamic duo. These ladies are the founders, coaches, and married duo of the Make It Happen of the No Matter What and Repeatable IP Lab. They help entrepreneurs who have the impatient ambition get farther faster. Their mission is simple. They help you accomplish what matters to you, no matter what. They have a reputation of building deliverables and an experience with clients that has people returning over and over again. Let's dive into today's episode. Well, we have the one half of the dynamic duo, Jennie and Meredyth. We have the extroverted partner here, and I can't wait to dive in and learn more about everything Coach Jennie, now transitioning to Jennie and Meredyth, and that's Meredyth with a Y and Jennie with an IE. And so I'm so excited to have you here on the show and learn all the things. Thanks for being here.
Oh my gosh, thanks, Holly. I'm excited to talk to you.
Okay. Well, we've already chit-chatted a little bit beforehand, and this conversation is going to be full of so many golden nuggets, and I can't wait to dive in. But in case anyone hasn't heard about you, can you give us a little, synopsis, cliff notes of what have you been doing online, and how has it brought you to Systeme.io right now?
Excellent. So my name is Jennie Mustafa-Julock, which nobody needs to learn how to say. And like you said, I'm one half of Jennie and Meredyth, my wife and business partner, Meredyth Mustafa-Julock. And I started my business in 2006, back when we were like holding everything together with Scotch tape and dental floss and prayer, and slowly but surely, my coaching business grew from a one-woman show of Coach Jennie into now this two-woman brand. And it's really exciting. So our online journey has ebbed and flowed and changed quite a bit, which is why we brand around our name so we can evolve with it. But our work is primarily about helping people who are entrepreneurs who have what we call impatient ambition. So people who have done some really cool things, but they would like to do way more yesterday, if not sooner. And we help them figure out how they can make that happen. That's us in a nutshell.
That is great. And that's great. Now I don't know where to begin, but I think at the beginning is the best, right? So you said 2006 is your digital marketing journey online.
Yeah.
What was that catalyst of going like maybe perhaps from a 9 to 5, or did you always know you wanted to be online? I'd like to know what started the
No.
journey.
No, I did not know that. So I started my career in consulting, government consulting specifically. And I knew of coaching. I had studied the art and of coaching and facilitation in graduate school. But the only coaches I knew had full careers in the federal government and then retired and then became coaches. So I knew I was going to become a coach, in 40 years after grad school. And that was going to be the plan. And then I left the government and worked for a couple consulting firms in DC and got laid off of one. And I don't know what exactly happened, but I was going to all of these other consulting interviews and not getting the jobs because I wasn't into it anymore. So I realized, I think I want to dust off that coaching thing, but can you be a coach? I was like 30 years old. Don't do the math, by the way. So I was 30 years old going, what do I do? How can I be a coach at 30 years old? I mean, now people are coaches at 16, but this was not a thing back then. And I decided I could start coaching people who were in the same position I was, which is, I don't know what I want to be. I don't know what I want, but I know it's not this, right? Like I know it's not this. I want to figure out what it is. Now, of course, my interests have changed and evolved over the years, and as they have, so have the people that I've served. But that's really how it kind of started, which I think is a common entrepreneurial experience of I got laid off and maybe I could give this a go. And so the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah. So we hear over and over that perhaps pain and suffering or hitting a really low point where you got to change, something's got to give. And that becomes your catalyst, that pivotal moment where, okay, I've got to learn something or I'm not going to have food on the table. So you started coaching and you experimented with it. So what led you to being an online entrepreneur, doing digital coaching?
Yeah, I was online right away, but most of what we did online was like we had a website so that people would click on it, we would get on the phone, right? So everything moved to the phone very quickly. But I'm a little bit of a geek. I would say I'm a minor league geek, right? Like I love all of the techie tools. I like to be on the bleeding edge of technology. I'm always like really interested in those things. And I wanted to find more ways to work with people across the globe. I was really intrigued by the idea of moving away from just talking to people on the telephone and actually being able to see their body language as a coach and be able to have these kinds of conversations. So, I was like one of the first people on Zoom. So I have no patience for people who say they have Zoom fatigue, because I was on Zoom for a very, very long time before the pandemic hit. And I find it really exciting that there are all these platforms. And then slowly but surely, I realized that it could be more than just one-on-one support, and having different ways of having all of these technologies to deliver products and pre-recorded information, but also have more ways to connect with people all over the world was really important to me.
Well, yeah, you got that international reach and being able to use all the different technology tools like a toolbox to be able to reach them in different capacities. That's really exciting. And so could you dive into kind of like your tech stack of how it's grown and changed over time? Like I checked out your social, you were on like something.tv, So like you've been with Zoom since the beginning. Can you
Mhm.
take us in that evolution of technology and what led you to Systeme.io?
Yeah, I have tried to keep everything kind of glued together for a very long time. And so I had, the WordPress site with the plugins of every different kind you can imagine, plugins that as soon as I updated one, it would break. I was so frustrated with all of those things. I know people love them, some WordPress, but it did not work for me. I actually had a graphic designer once change the password of my WordPress because every time I went in to update something, I would break the whole site. And I'm like, okay, this is a problem. If your graphic designer is taking away your access to your own website, something's going wrong. So in 2016, I remember this very specifically, 16, I published my first book. And so when I got my book out there, I was like, you know what? It's time to go a little more professional and I want to have control of things I can handle. So I signed up for a competitor of Systeme and I was on that for about 6 years. And it was fine, but it was clunky and it was frustrating. And Meredyth hated it. Mostly, I think
Mhm.
Meredyth hated hearing me complain about it. And so when Meredyth and I decided in 2023 that we were going to expand the business just naturally expanded from just a one-woman show with Meredyth supporting me full-time as my CEO. We realized that her voice needed to be a part of this as well. We decided to switch from Coach Jennie to Jennie and Meredyth. And as soon as we said we were going to do that, Meredyth was like, so we can leave that platform now. Let's go find something better. Let's go find something.
Okay.
And there were very specific things that we were looking for, right? The very specific thing,
Okay.
number one, was that it was unlimited. So all of the other platforms I was on had all of these tiers. And I know Systeme has these tiers too, but their unlimited offer was like half of what I was paying for only 30 products and only and I only had that deal because I bought it in 2016. If I had bought it right in 2023, I can't imagine how expensive it would have been. So I wanted to be able to have unlimited tags, unlimited emails, unlimited pages and landing pages and order forms, and most especially courses. Because as Meredyth and I started growing all of the different products and things we wanted to experiment with and put out into the world, we didn't want to have to figure out, ooh, can we afford to try to sell this thing? Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want to be spending all of the potential income into your expenses bucket. And then it's like,
Yeah.
well, what's the point? Just paying for the overhead of all the tech. So I heard you transition from WordPress and, the Scotch tape and then finding that competitor and then
Mhm.
finally making that transition. But before we talk about that transition with Systeme.io, you also touched on branding and the shift and that pivot. And I think that is going to speak volumes to a lot of people who perhaps have built a whole brand or a whole system on WordPress or a competitor, or
Yeah.
maybe just on different social media platforms or email marketing, storefronts, which is what they're calling them, all the,
Sure.
the stand stores and link trees and whatnot. So I'd love to know how you got over the fear of the giant pivot, programs, branding, all of it?
Yeah, that was terrifying. We sat down and we asked ourselves a few questions like, how do we want to be working? Right? Like, is it, we were looking at our business. At the time, the mainstay of our business was that took up the most amount of time was a membership that we had. And it was lovely. It was fun, but it was about 20, 25 hours a week just to feed and manage that membership. And we realized that that didn't really fit in our lifestyle. We had moved into an RV. We wanted to be traveling all over North America, and we had to stop every few minutes because we had another call that we had to do. And we realized we didn't want to be working in that way anymore. And so when we asked ourselves how we want to be working, we really paused and we're like, honestly, we want to be creating in our bare feet from wherever we are. And that kind of wake up call of like, we wanted to be able to enjoy this lifestyle that we're building for ourselves, said we needed a tool that would allow us to create lots and lots of things without any limits. So that was one thing. And recognizing that, and then also just putting the brand out there as who we are was a big darn deal. By saying we're going to create a brand that has an invisible rainbow flag behind it of saying, hi, we're Jennie and Meredyth, married duo. That felt important to us too, of being able to like step fully into that identity online in our business, because we need to see more of that in the world. So we wanted to, I
Mhm.
mean, that's always been true for us, but it was always kind of in the closet, if you will. And so we were bringing that forward.
Yeah.
And then more importantly, the coolest thing about the transition for us was that I have a personality driven business, but Meredyth is very different from me. And it's really fun for people to have kind of that tag team feel of two different people that have two different perspectives. I'm nerdy about coaching and facilitation and process, and Meredyth's super nerdy about instructional design, and systems is her love language. And our clients just love having access to that kind of yin and yang.
I love everything you just said because you just touched on something I think a lot of brands and new entrepreneurs really haven't wrapped their mind around, and it's personal branding. And for you,
Yeah.
it's not just personal, it's personal in a partnership, you and Meredyth. And
Mhm.
embracing that, because with that comes the empathy and your values, and people will right off the bat say, I connect with them from their images and how they're presenting themselves and how they are authentically who they are and unashamed, and then walk in that. But then what you teach has nothing to do with that. It's just who you are as a person, and it just kind of spider webs its way throughout your work. And I
Yeah.
saw that right on your website. I've seen that in that rebrand. And so it can be scary, but at the same time, you now are walking in freedom, literally digital nomadic freedom. They'll live in your RV, and Systeme.io created that. And so, touching on the fact that you made that brand pivot, how has Systeme.io, that shift, the scary tech shift of moving everything, including the membership, did you keep it? Did it go away? Like,
Yeah.
tell me about the tech shift of your business and brand rebrand.
when so again, when we decided to do the rebrand, we're like, okay, we're going to start from scratch with a rebrand. This is an opportunity to pull out a blank sheet of paper. We're both kind of Disney nerds. We really enjoy Disney stuff. And so Walt Disney talked about this idea of the big sky. Like every time there's a new project, grab a blank sheet of paper and put out everything you can imagine. And then we'll figure out what did we do before to learn from. But you don't start from like building from what you have. So we started from a blank slate saying, okay, if we could build this business from scratch, which by the way, any day you can decide I can rebuild my business from scratch. If we decided that, what did we want to burn down? What did we want to keep? And what did we want to create that didn't exist yet? So the membership was gone, but we took one piece, one of those calls of the membership, and that became the Make It Happen Power Hour, which still exists today. We didn't need to have all of these other things. We just needed the one piece that was working the best, that was an example of what we call our repeatable IP that we just love doing, but that fit into our lifestyle. And then also the one-on-one works got scaled way down. So I had a lot more white space on my calendar. More white space on my calendar means more time to create more things and help more people. So it was all about figuring out what was important to us. So it completely, Systeme allowed us to do that. So when we decided, okay, we're making this change, it was obvious that having a tool that I was complaining about all of the time and literally paying for memberships to hang out with people who were also complaining about them, it was time for me to find something else. And so I looked at a lot of competitors. I was like, what is on the market that wasn't on the market in 2016 when I was ready to leave WordPress? And I found this, and I tested a bunch of things. I was like, there's so many specific features that blew my mind. My favorite feature of Systeme is blocks. This is just such a
Yeah.
simple, genius feature of being able to save a block of something that you've designed and use it other places, like in a course or on another sales page or on the next order form, being able to like just have all of the pieces of your work, not just once and have to rebuild it again and again. There were so many very specific, clean, simple features that I really appreciated. And then I also appreciated that it was they were building the plane while flying it, which is one of the things we talk about with our clients. Like, build the plane while flying it, keep it in the air, but they're still working on it. They're still making it better and better. And the choices they were making of what to fix were, focused on something aesthetic. We're actually focused on something that would make it better for all of the users. So for all of those reasons, it was just a clear winner. And then I think the icing on the cake was it was so reasonably priced. So
Yeah. Yeah, that is the icing on the cake. It's like, really, what are you going to get for that? But it's like, oh, wow, you're going to get a lot. And
right. I
so
was
it
worried
really
about
pulls
that.
in
Yeah.
a little. Yeah, that is a concern, but they have proven that they really do care about their customer support. They want to give the best quality product at an affordable price because they really want people to have that financial freedom. For
Right.
people like you and Meredith, they'll travel in your, Airstream and RV around the world. And so with that, you have something very unique on your website through this pivot that I hadn't seen before, and I want to dig into that. Can you
Okay.
tell us about your everything page?
Yes, my everything page. Okay, so first of all, I have to give credit to the person who came up with this idea. Her name is Elizabeth Goddard. She's one of our friends and mentors. She's genius. She has a course where she teaches it. We have like at the bottom our affiliate link for it to give her full credit. But the everything page in a nutshell is a way to have a work with me page that doesn't suck, right? Like, it's a page of absolutely everything. I came up in this whole like you only allowed to have one link and one call to action on every freaking page. That's such old school thinking. Our clients are not idiots. They can read. Give them the menu of everything that they have that you have to offer. So our everything page is kind of categorized. At the very top, we have our three primary offers: our Make It Happen Power Hour, our quarterly No Matter What coaching intensives, and our kind of signature service, the Repeatable IP Lab. So we have those right up front because we want to make sure you know what we want to be known for. And then below that, you'll find every freebie, every course, every coaching service that we currently have available as kind of a Cheesecake Factory menu of all the things that you could choose from, all kind of nicely, neatly categorized. And then you can click over to all of the individual sales pages for those particular offers.
Yeah.
So pleased that we have one yummy place that we can point people to when they're finding out we exist.
I love that. I love the cheesecake menu and I love Cheesecake Factory. So,
Yes.
but you keep saying we, and I love that because it's a plurality, you and
Yes.
Meredith now, and everything's built on Systeme.io. So how do you balance this work life and, life with your wife? Like, how does that work? What does that look like?
Good question. So first of all, we threw out the word balance a very long time ago. Like, we're all about work-life harmony, not work-life balance, which is such a coachy thing to say to play with the semantics, but it does matter. It does matter
Yeah.
because we want it to feel harmonic. We want it to feel like, okay, we know when we're clocked in, when we're clocked out. Meredith makes a joke all the time of like, we start talking about business on a meal. She's like, oh, I'm going to put that receipt in this envelope because now I'm writing off this meal because, the line is very blurry when you have developed a lifestyle and a business where what we're building and creating is not just like a fun hobby or a side hustle for us. It's our way of living. We pay for our life by our self-expression that helps other people.
Mm-hmm. So
It doesn't get
stepping
better
in,
than that. Yeah,
right? It does
please.
it. Yeah. So stepping into that, can you give us some financial freedom goals in the sense like non-scale victories? Not talking about numbers,
Yeah.
but what has this lifestyle provided you in freedom?
Yeah. So for a couple of years, Meredith was able to actually leave her day job, or we call it financial oxygen job, which kind of fuels your business and gives you the money to like fund your business. We were able to leave and just travel North America for a couple of years. Now we're back in Southern California right now, and Meredith is working at the financial oxygen job temporarily because we've decided to make some pretty big swings in our business, and we wanted to make some big investments. So that was one of the ways that we could make those big investments. But she's coming home. She works, like a few days a week, and then she comes home and works on the business with us. It's providing us so much freedom to like really build something that we will be able to sustain the rest of our lives on and retire on, which is very, very exciting.
Yeah, this is your retirement package. And I think that's very wise. And so are you putting in safeguards for that to be a recurring income down the road?
It's a really good question. Not yet. I mean, we are in our mid to late 40s here, and we're still figuring things out. We have the feeling that we have 15, 20 years left of like our best financial growth
Hmm.
period in our careers, and then we'll see where we go. I have a feeling, just based on who we are, that we're not going to be the kind of people that retire and put it completely away, because so much of our work is a form of self-expression. It is where we've built community. I can't imagine ever completely walking away from that. But if Meredith has her way, we will be doing this eventually, living on a small yacht. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that would be her dream.
there you go. I love
Yeah.
that. That's how you marry the two. So as
Yeah,
we,
except we don't know anything about boating, but we didn't know anything about airstreaming. So I suppose YouTube will help us out.
so you like taking on a challenge and finding the solution, and as you said, build a plane while you're on it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's our style.
Oh, I love it. So, as we close the system of this conversation here, I want to kind of ease our listeners into a couple of questions that I ask everyone on the interviews. Now, you talk about impatient ambition. And so, I think the people listening may be your ideal client, right? If someone is listening right now and hesitating, what would you say to them to get from unstuck to action?
Yes, there's no such thing as ready. I mean, that would be the number one thing. Is I think you're probably waiting until you have everything ready. Like you're emotionally ready, you've got everything lined up, all that perfectionism, there's just no such thing. There's the only way to get started is to build the plane while flying it. So figure out what is the simplest way that you can say, "Hey, I have something for sale, not for free. Something for sale," and start asking for sales. Start asking people, start telling everybody you know that you have something that you want to give and you want to teach, and start asking. That's going to change everything for you.
That's awesome. That's very helpful. All right. In one sentence, what does financial freedom mean to you?
This is going to sound so cheesy, but Meredith and I can stay inseparable, right? Like
Yeah.
me, Meredith, and the puppy can just spend all of our time together doing what we want to do. And so financial freedom equals just freedom.
I love that. I absolutely love it. Okay. Now, our beautiful host of this podcast, if you could use one sentence to describe Systeme.io, what would you say?
I would say it is the limitless
Mm.
platform for people who want all the flexibility to build exactly what they want. Yeah, limitless. I mean, that would be the one word, to be honest.
Yeah. All right. So here we are. You rebuilt, rebranded, you pivoted, you're building the airplane. If someone's listening right now and they're unsure about this whole entrepreneurial journey, what is one gift that entrepreneurship has given you in Meredith?
It's just allowed us to not have to rely on anybody else in order to make our way in the world. And so it's giving us the gift of creatively building a life that serves other people. And like I've said it a few times, but I can't express it enough, is that our business is a form of self-expression that just doesn't happen when you have a boss. And so that self-expression allows us to just really feel like we're making an impact. So that's really important.
That's amazing. And I think a lot of people hear that and they probably only feel it. So if they want to connect with you, Jennie
Mhm.
and Meredyth, Meredyth with a Y, Jennie with an IE, how can they
That's right.
connect with you after the this podcast interview?
I mean, the best way is to just run over to our website. If you go to jennieandmeredith.com, you can connect with us. You can see our everything page. You can kind of poke around, start to get to know us. We have a button on the bottom right where you can actually chat with us. It's not some AI robot or something like that. It's actually us that will respond to you. And then, of course, on all of the major socials, we are at Jennie and Meredyth.
Okay, that's awesome. But also, you just dropped a golden nugget. You can get a chat bot on Systeme.io on your website.
In fairness, Systeme.io doesn't create that, but we can embed it really nicely. We're using something called Chatra on there, and it's fantastic. It embeds into the header code of whatever page you want, which I also like. That Systeme doesn't make you put it everywhere. You can literally put it whatever page you want or whatever page you don't want. So
Wow. Y'all, that is a sleeper golden nugget, okay? That's beautiful.
yeah,
All
it's
right.
really nice. It helps, like, if somebody has a question and they're on a sales page, it tells you what sales page they're on, so you can answer that question. So there's some really cool tools like that. I told you I'm a total nerd about this stuff.
I'm geeking out over here. I want a list of all these tools.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good freebie. What tools can you use in conjunction to really optimize your Systeme.io online financial freedom business? So you're
Yes.
not sitting in impatience anymore.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And that's what's cool. I mean, what I like about Systeme is, yes, its features are almost everything that we need. But there's some that I want, little extra bells and whistles, and it's very easy. I don't need a developer to help me put them inside of Systeme and make them work together. I can just drop them into very simple code, very simple embeds. Everything works beautifully together.
That's amazing. I am so excited to see this new trajectory for you and your wife and how that looks and how you're going to be able to help other people like me go from this creative journey to actually selling something and changing their lives. So I want to say
Thank you.
thank you for being on today and make sure you tell Meredyth hello and thank you for all that she's done as well with Systeme.io.
Thank you so much.